Welcome in, everybody, to the Rebel Report. My name is Michael Borky. Glad you guys are with me on this Thursday. So, again, no live stream tonight because I will be in Oxford at the College Corner. Hope to see some of you there. By the time you're listening to this, the show will probably be over, but that's okay. I'm bringing to you today a one-on-one conversation that I had earlier today with Furman head football coach Clay Hendrix. He was really kind with his time, about 20 minutes, talking about his program and the legacy that he's building there. And, we talk about his offense and what he sees out of Ole Miss and things like that. It's a really good conversation from a really good football coach. So hope you guys enjoy that on this edition of the Rebel Report presented by the Gregory Law Firm. We know that in life, injuries are sometimes unavoidable. They should not happen. We hope they never happen. But sometimes they can to you. If you've been personally injured, or you may have like a small business situation that you need legal help with, or a contract dispute, DJ Gregory of the Gregory Law Firm has got you covered. 662-397-9799. That's the phone number, 662-397-9799. Don't delay. Call DJ today. DJ Gregory, the Gregory Law Firm, bringing you the Rebel Report. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media, Twitter, YouTube, at Michael Borky, Borkey, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Just search Rebel Report wherever you get them and leave a rating and a review. If you're listening in podcast form, don't forget to hop on over and subscribe on YouTube as well. Like the video, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for being here. And here that interview is right now. No more delay. My one-on-one with Furman head football coach Clay. And we're joined now by Furman head football coach Clay Hendrix. And I spared the audience the fanboying that I did before we actually hit record here, as they know that they hear me talk about it too much, that I grew up on Furman football. Furman football is why I love college football. And so it's actually going to be really cool for me to see you guys take the field in Vaught Hemingway on Saturday, kind of a full circle moment for me. But before we get into this game and this season, I do want to look back at last year. Really good team. Again, had a home playoff game that you won. Difficult overtime loss on the road. I'm sure that you had goals that extended beyond where that season ended, but I imagine that you were really proud of what that team was able to accomplish a season ago.
I was proud, coming off a really good team the year before. We were picked to win the league, which I think is sometimes a really hard thing to do, to be picked and be able to go win it. Had a good run. We got a little – I wish we could have stayed a little healthier later in the year, but went out to Montana, played in an unbelievable environment, great game. Got into, scored late, was going for two to win it. Got a procedure penalty, kicked it, went into overtime, ended up losing in overtime. But, I thought we had a team that was as good as anybody in the country. And, I think that's what's a little unique about the FCS level and the playoffs. You having a chance to go compete for a national championship. And, that's kind of our goal here. And, win our conference, get in the national playoffs and have a chance to go compete for a national championship. And so was really proud of that team. We had 41 seniors, which is kind of hard to believe. We've had incredible retention here. But we got a really a pretty good mixture of veteran kids with some talented young guys. Our formula is a little different here for success, but I'm excited about this team and kind of what lies ahead.
So when you took over, a few years of struggle there at Furman before you got the job, and you started winning basically right away. But doesn't it feel like, especially these last couple of years, at least from my outside looking in perspective, it feels like Furman football is back. This is what Furman always could be and what they have been. And it's kind of like they're back exactly where they belong at the FCS level, which is right up there at the top.
Well, that's where we wanted to be. We came back. We the thought was we want to be a perennial top 10 team. I think, much about our history. We've won 15 conference championships since 1978. I think I've been here for 11 of them, three different stints, between my time as a player and assistant, now as the head coach. But, we have our own unique challenges here with, we have high academic admission standards. We're an expensive place. So it creates its own unique set of challenges. But we have an awesome young man to coach. And, we've proven you can be great academically and win football games. And I think we do that about as good as anybody in the country. And, that's the goal every year. And so that's the goal for this year as well.
So you mentioned the admission standards at Furman, and there's this new age in college football where, and we'll get to your game against Ole Miss in a second, and the differences in how they're able to build a roster and, frankly, the resources that it takes to build a roster like they've got. With you guys, you don't really use the portal all that much. I mean, a colleague in your state, Dabo Swinney, doesn't use it at all, but very little portal activity, incoming players from your perspective. Is that strategic, or is that part of what you mentioned? Just the academic standards kind of limit your ability to just go in and kind of pick players out of the transfer portal the way you might want to?
Well, probably a little bit of both. I mean, I'm not immune to the portal, but it largely is, even for a kid to transfer in here, it's really hard to get a transfer in here just to get them, transferable credits as such. I think, we're coming this week and we'll have two undergrad transfers on our whole team. One of them's kicker. So, we have very limited graduate options. So we're a place that needs to recruit at a high level, retain at a high level, and develop players. And, we've largely been able to play with old kids. Our retention, again, I think one of the things I've taken most pride in is just our retention. I think kids truly love, I think they love going to school here. They love what we're about. They love being in the weight room with our guys, who they have as teammates. I just think, that culture word gets thrown around a lot. I hate what's happening to college football. I mean, we're playing a professional football team this weekend, and it's just, it is what it is. And that's the rules they set. So we'll go by it. But, for us, it's just been, again, retaining guys, play with older guys. I think we played maybe 3 freshmen a year ago. We played 2 maybe the year before that. We'll have a couple more, but again, we've been able to retain kids, and kids here, I think, truly value the education and the preparation they're getting for life beyond the time they spend here. And you hope certainly football has a big part of that. And, we got kids, our kids are off doing all kinds of great things, and med school, grad school, law school, working in the business world. So Furman does a phenomenal job of preparing them for that. And, a lot of people use that as a crutch sometimes from a football standpoint, but, again, we want to be the best, even our university, we want to be the best mid-major academic athletic combination school there is anywhere. And I think, that's kind of what our mission is here. And certainly this is my 31st year associated with Furman. And so I take a lot of pride in that as well. I'm married to a Furman grad. Greenville's, as you know, it's, I know even when you were here, how it has changed for the
Hardly
good.
Recognize it anymore.
For the good. So, again, we've got our own unique set of challenges. Everybody has them. Every family has them, and so we just try to control what we can control. But we have an unbelievable kid to coach, and I know I truly value that.
And in your own right, you have an NFL presence. I mean, Furman does send guys to the next level. You do play really good football there at Furman, but you made reference to it. This Ole Miss roster has been nationally pretty popular, not only in the preseason rankings, but the transfer portal players and things like that. Ole Miss is getting a lot of attention nationally. Lane Kiffin earlier this week did make reference, though, to Furman's going to come in well coached and ready to play and not be scared, because last season they played South Carolina and ultimately you guys fell short in that game. But Ole Miss noticed that it was a tie game in the second quarter, and especially with Furman in the past, I mean, there's a not so distant win over UCF at the Bounce House. I went to a game at North Carolina where Furman should have won that game that day. I mean, there's a lot of success with Furman playing these Power 4 now teams. So how do you approach preparation for a team like this with yours that features what could possibly be multiple first-round picks? There's the head of the Senior Bowl says that there's over 20 draft gradable players on this Ole Miss roster. How do you get your team prepared for something like this?
Well, I don't think we prepare anything any differently. Obviously, they all, and this team compared to the South Carolina teams, not even, I don't think it's even close, talent-wise. I actually felt like that was a game last year with our team and their team. We could really match up well, and we did. And then what happened, we got into a game, and I think it's 14-14 game right before the half. They make a 4th down conversion, and then we bust it. We busted coverage, give up a big play, and then we let it get away from us. We got 3 or 4 no calls, and then we let it get away from us. And it's one of those games. I really felt a year ago if we could play remarkably well, we could win the game. I think this week's one of those weeks you got to play remarkably well just to try to compete. And but that's how we play. We're a team that, I think the makeup of who we are. We stress we don't want to beat Furman, and you beat Furman by turning the ball over, penalties, missed assignments, and we're a pretty disciplined group. I like to think we are. And those are things we will have to do to have any kind of a chance to go in there and compete. But I don't think the environment, it was sold out in Williams-Brice last year. 2 years ago, we went to Clemson. Actually, I thought one of the games we played really well against a really good team. But I can also remember going to Clemson in 2018, and I think the 4 defensive linemen were all first-round picks. It was Trevor Lawrence's first game, and I think we had 2 freshman quarterbacks. So these games for me over the years, something's got to be helping you in the matchup. Maybe they're struggling at quarterback. Well, Ole Miss isn't struggling at quarterback. So, really probably you'd like to have somebody that's struggling to find a quarterback. And I think that was the difference a year ago. Rattler, he made a few plays that I hoped he wouldn't make. Mm-hmm. But they're certainly not struggling there. I think that one of the biggest challenges this week has been, they had a really, really good team. Got a lot of guys back. I know they lost some guys, but, you watch the tape, you don't really know who else they've got to plug in other than who you see they've taken. So, you're still watching schemes, on both sides of the ball. Yeah, you can prepare for the quarterback, but man, he can hurt you in so many different ways. So I think probably that's a little bit of the unknowns this week, but I just don't think the environment's going to be too big for our guys. But can we get some stops, and can we stay on the field on the offense? Can we find a way to score some points? Because they're going to make some plays, and we just got to be able to handle some adversity. And there's adversity in every football game, and there'll certainly be some Saturday night, I'm sure, for us.
And so you made reference to it. I've always been kind of curious, and I'm afraid of this question sounding condescending, and I hope you don't think that I am. But Lane Kiffin, when he was at FAU, was on the Dan Patrick Show, and Dan asked him, like, hey, they were playing at Ohio State, and he was like, hey, you got a chance this Saturday? And Lane goes, Dan, watch my team get off the bus, and then watch them get off the bus, and tell me if my team has a chance this weekend. That quote always stuck with me and made me laugh. But you said earlier, Ole Miss is basically a professional team at this point. How do you talk to your team about that? Like, understanding that, look, the goal is to win every game, but in this case, there's just a possible mismatch here. Do you talk to them about that at all, or is it just, hey, the goal is to win, play the next play, focus on yourself? And how do you approach a game like this with your team?
Well, I think it's control what you can control. And I told them, I think the best thing we've got going for us on Saturday night is they can only put 11 out there at a time. They can put 11 out there. We can put 11 out there. And can we go win some one-on-ones? I think our game's largely made up of one-on-ones anyways, much more than people sometimes think. Can you win some one-on-ones? Can you win those individual battles? And that's really all you can control. I mean, one thing about it, we got Furman kids are smart kids, so they understand. They understand that aspect of it, just like I felt like they understood last year. We had a little better chance to match up, even though we weren't going to match up, but we felt like we could. And I tell you what's great about our game, what's the greatest team game, sometimes you see some strange things happen, in our team sport, finding a way, to try to hang in the game. Because certainly the more you can hang in there, the tougher it gets for the other side. I mean, we've all been on both sides of those games, and so, for us, it's again, just trying to, play to the standard that we set for ourselves, which is pretty high. And, I want us to play well. And if we play well, everything else takes care of itself. And again, this is most important game of the year for us because it's the one we're playing this week. But probably in the grand scheme, it's probably the least important game on our schedule. So But, we take a lot of pride in how we play. We are a proud program here. And, I think you'll see it in how our kids play, how hard they'll play. We just go back to fundamentals, and we just got to be exceptional in the fundamental area. And again, we'll take what comes with it. Can we finish plus in turnover margin? Those kind of things. Can we get some hits on the quarterback? We got to find a way to hit him. Get clean hits, but just find a way to get to the quarterback, whether it's pressures, whether it's winning some one-on-ones. He's a runner. They're going to run him some. I think that's going to happen. But the difference in them, they just have so much. They just hurt you in so many different ways, particularly from an offensive perspective. So certainly a great challenge for us.
If you were to describe what you guys do offensively, so Mike Leach, rest his soul here in Mississippi, he ran the air raid. That is what he did. Now at Mississippi State, they've got more of like a run and shoot style of offense. If somebody were to ask, hey, what is Clay Hendrix's Furman? What is their offense? Describe it to me, like the elevator pitch.
Well,
what would that be?
I spent 30 years as an offensive line coach. I always had a little bit of option in my background. I spent 10 years at the Air Force Academy. Which was a great equalizer. And yet at the same time, we had the same kid that we had out there. 2 years ago, Justin Roper, this is actually Justin's third year as our offensive coordinator. We've kind of progressed from being a two-back, a lot of under center. I don't know what we were, gun versus to more of a true spread football team. A lot of RPO. We want to run the football. We want to run football. And we want to be a play action team. And certainly you're going to see some drop back stuff, but you're not going to make a living in these games trying to drop back and throw it and think you truly can protect, so can we have the ability to run the football? We had a quarterback who was player of the year a year ago, who was I don't say necessarily a run first guy, but he made a lot of plays with his feet, a little more limited in some of the things we could do in the passing game. These guys are a little different. I think their ability to stretch the field a little better at receiver. But, we want to be balanced. I think we were almost exactly run past last year. I didn't think we ran the ball as well a year ago. A lot of that we got kind of wiped out injury-wise at the running back position later in the year a year ago. But we want to be a balanced team. And, we've kind of, my background in always having some option now, that's probably been more replaced by RPO stuff. But we want to take, I think we feel like we're in a position now at receiver in some places where we got a chance to stretch field a little more. But again, for us, we need to be balanced.
And so you mentioned your quarterback. He's off playing for a familiar name here in Mississippi. He was the OC at Ole Miss for a while, Rich Rodriguez. So tell us about his replacement. Who's going to line up at quarterback for you? And just tell us about him.
Well, we've got, we're probably going to play a couple of guys. Somebody asked me about my two deep. Ole Miss this week told us they weren't going to release the two deep till Saturday. I said, well, we'll release ours on Saturday too then.
Good.
But, we're going to probably play a couple of guys there. We got a kid, Carson Jones, who came in the conference championship game last year against Chattanooga when our guy went down in the first quarter, and he was a redshirt freshman. Now he's third year in our program. Played a great program, Maryville High School up there in Tennessee, that won all kinds of games. And, not much different than what we've kind of been playing with, but, good athlete, throws it well. Probably see another young guy. Actually, the only mid-year kid we had in was an early high school enrollee, Trey Hedden, kid from Tampa, who we're really excited about. And it's funny, for the first time probably in August, we had three guys we felt really good about. But I think we'll play with a couple guys. Their skill set's not much different, so I don't think you're going to see stuff change based on when they're in there. So I think that thing's going to have to kind of play it out. We've had a good competition in August, and we'll have to trot one of them out there with the first group. I'm not sure we've quite made. If we've made it, we're probably not going to say it till he runs out there. But I think we'll play a couple of guys.
When we hang up, just tell me privately, and I'll make sure I protect that information. Yeah, you're not going to get, even if Ole Miss released the depth chart, you would have learned nothing from it. Lane Kiffin does not at all volunteer any information. Like, he refuses to give you anything. A player could lose a leg on the field in front of everybody, and then he could be asked about it in the press conference, and his response will be, well, we hope he plays next week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he does.
I don't think there's probably a coach at Ole Miss that's lost any sleep this week worrying about who the quarterback's going to be at Furman. So we've got all the ones we started with, so we didn't lose anybody during August. So, but I like the guys we have, and I think we can win and compete for a conference championship with the guys we have, and have a chance to make a run, and that's kind of our goal.
What real quick, you've been really generous with your time. I'm probably holding you way too long. I know that you guys are really busy and everything, but when you study the Ole Miss defense, so there's so much talk about the quarterback returning and Trey Harris and a guy that you're familiar with, Juice Wells, transferring from South Carolina, and not as much talk about the other side of the ball. When you see what Ole Miss does and Pete Golding does defensively, how can you try to attack that defense? What do you see from them?
Well, I mean, you see Coach Saban. I mean, you see that Alabama mold. They're multiple. You can tell they're well coached. I think the biggest challenge for us in these kinds of games is our kids' ability to recover. We could be playing a conference game, run the same play, block it the same way, and a guy doesn't make the play, or a guy doesn't get off of a block, or a guy's out of position, he can't get back. And I think the difference for us in these kinds of games is just their ability to recover, in space. But they just got all those things you're looking for. They've got length, they've got twitch, they can run, they're well coached. So I just, there's just not a weakness there. And, I think the age of college football, you're blocking, or you're prepping for, multiple looks throughout the year, and most people have their system, and how well can can we get a hat on a hat, and then we got to be able to win some of those one-on-ones, and our backs have to, our running backs have to have the ability, we get them in some one-on-one situations to win some one-on-ones, and and then continue to do, trying to keep them off balance a little bit as best we can, and a lot of my career, the option was a phase of that. We're just giving our guys a chance, something they can go out and execute. And, we talk a lot about just putting our kids in a position where they can play fast and, not think, because guys are thinking aren't playing fast. And we're not going to be the fastest team. We're not going to be the biggest team, but we got to play fast. And again, I think that's one of those things our game allows you to do. When you get an older group of kids that play well together, allows you an opportunity to do that. And but yeah, there are no weaknesses anywhere, especially even in the kicking game, which we think we've been really good at as well. So I wish I could tell you where those weaknesses. If you figure them out between now and then, let me know where they are.
Coach Clay Hendrix, thank you so much for your time. This has been remarkable. You're way too kind with your time, and keep it going at Furman. I've loved watching from afar. I regret that I haven't been able to get back to Paladin Stadium in a long time. It's been a while since I've been there, living out here in Mississippi. But keep up the great work, and safe travels this weekend. And I'll be watching for sure. And thank you again for your time. Really hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Clay Hendrix right here on the Rebel Report. This edition and every edition of the Rebel Report is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online, absms.com. If you're in the market for office technology and you are anywhere inside of the state of Mississippi, check them out again, absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your office technology needs. Tell them I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. The podcast is also brought to you in part by Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every single day, not only with their online banking platform, with local loan servicing and decision-making. So if you need a loan or you have a loan with them and you need it serviced, you don't hop on Zoom or talk to somebody out of state. It's somebody in your backyard that you will sit down with face-to-face, because Priority One Bank makes you their priority. So there was an article that came out. There's not a whole lot for us to break down here in podcast form. I just want to encourage you to read it. Chris Lowe wrote a long piece about Lane Kiffin and his coaching transformation, really. There's more details that you probably already know anyway about why he ultimately told Auburn no and what has happened since then. His daughter is quoted in the story. Pete Golding is quoted in the story. Joe Judge has really interesting quotes in this story. There's an anecdote about how the current plan is for Knox to move to Oxford with him for next year, which, you know, if you're one of those people that's worried about him leaving, planning on having plans in the works to have his son also join him in Oxford kind of tells you that that's not exactly what they're planning on doing right now, is leaving anytime soon. It's a very good article. Chris Lowe, it's long. It's a long read, but I promise you, you're all Ole Miss fans. You need to read it. You will really like what you have to read. Really good quotes that you really don't hear much. I don't think we've heard from Joe Judge at all. We certainly aren't going to get kid quotes about coaches very often. It's thorough. It's well done. And if you, for some reason, are one of the few left that are not completely bought in on what Lane Kiffin is doing at Ole Miss, this article will have you completely and totally bought in on Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss for sure. It's really, really good, and I would encourage you to read it. Usually the Thursday podcast will be focused on like game breakdown and predictions and stuff like that. But this week it's going to be more about, this conversation with Coach Hendrix. And we will be live after the game for the post-game show. So we'll break down everything that we see then together on Saturday night. I will also tomorrow bring you, we're actually on the show today going to visit with Chris Beard, Keith Carter, and Walker Jones. I will bring you all three of those interviews probably separately on this feed because they're three different topics, really, although they're connected, of course. But I will bring all of those to you as well throughout the weekend and into next week. So one of those will be uploaded in this feed for you tomorrow. We'll do post-game show on Saturday. We'll do weekend recap, talk about all the other games on Sunday. You'll get to hear our conversation with Beard, Jones, and Carter as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy your football. Football is back finally in Oxford, Mississippi. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you guys a lot over the weekend.